Hello, everybody. Welcome along to your new but old, but kind of new because it's just brand new back, Rabble Extra. So, yes, once a week we will be live on YouTube after 7 o'clock at night. So, it'll be 7 or 7:01 or 7:30. We can't do any later than 7:30 because then Wilf would be late for his bed because he's getting to that age. So, hello, everybody. Welcome along. It's good to be back on YouTube at night time. Please get your questions in. Get your comments, and I'll get as many up as I possibly can. And I am joined by Mr. Wilf Marshall. Wilf, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Still a wee bit kind of cheesed off after Tannadice last night, but the performance at least was better. But we could do with some strikers that can score goals.
I mean, it would be great, wouldn't it? I mean, but you're living in a bit of a fantasy world there, Wilf. Wally, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. Obviously, we were going to do a podcast earlier on this afternoon. Now it's turned into a later podcast, but I'm still here.
Yeah. Yes, as we all are. Do you know what, Wally? Is there anybody at the Borough that Rangers could look at to bring in up front?
Big Kyle Lafferty. Do you know we could roll out Big Kyle again, see if he could score some goals. I got a tough game tomorrow night. We're away at Greenock Juniors tomorrow night, so that is a tough test for us, but I'm sure we'll come through it.
Are you Paisley folk allowed in Greenock? Is that acceptable?
I am a Johnston boy, mate. I will never be a Paisley boy, ever.
Where do you live, Willie?
I'm not telling anybody in case they come and start stalking me. But no, I mean, I do love Ed Paisley.
Would that be Paisley, Willie? Aye.
I do love Ed Paisley, clearly. But I mean, I'm a Johnston boy, so I mean, that will never change. I always love going to see the Borough play.
That's just like when people say, I'm Scottish through and through. Well, where do you live? Oh, Los Angeles. Oh, right. Aye, cool. That's how Scottish you are.
I would love in Johnston if it was up to me, but it wasn't up to me, so that's why I was in Paisley.
Well,
so what did you do to get barred out of Johnston then?
I would happily move back to Johnston.
What did you do?
To be totally honest,
Why are you barred?
I'm not barred at Johnston.
That's what I heard.
Wow. There's probably worse things to be barred out, I suppose.
Yes, there most definitely is. And I could tell you a story, but then I would get into
trouble. No, we don't need to hear that. No, okay.
I can't tell you. It was about my last night. Can't tell you. Anyway, right, okay, let's talk some Rangers then, shall we? I think we might actually start, Willie, by doing a wee 10 minutes on what we were going to do today.
Right.
We'll start it off, and we will get an Academy show out at some point in the coming days, week.
That's right.
Right. But it was a question that you put to me, Willie, which I don't know why you put it to me because you're the one that would know. Is there anybody in the Academy right now in the under-19s team, which is effectively now our B team, that you feel could come up to the first team and actually do a job in place of some of the players who just mediocre, mate, mediocre?
It's so difficult, isn't it? Because it is a big step up. I mean, that's the reality. Like, it is a big step up to the first team at Rangers. I mean, we do obviously have players out on loan who could potentially come back. But yet again, it's throwing them in at the deep end right now, the best thing to do to them. Because clearly, there is a lot of failings there at the moment, especially in that final third of the pitch. I was actually really surprised by some of the comments. I mean, I popped onto social media for like 5 minutes last night and thought some of the comments were ridiculous. I mean, that's as many chances as we've created all season last night.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just like half chances, it was like full on proper good chances. And the 2 goals we score, one's a worldie for Magoma. I mean, you can't strike a ball better than that, really. And the second one's a penalty. But you look at the open play chances that we created in that game. See for all the criticism, which is mental now, see when you look at the criticism that Dessers took. Dessers would have probably scored a hat-trick last night.
Mm.
With the chances that they were. I mean, they were gilt-edged opportunities. Like, they're the sort of chances that you dream of as a striker.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're proper good chances. And we didn't take any of them. And I mean, you look at the guy Sapsford for the first goal for Dundee United, he's had to run for halfway and then he's got the composure to dink the goalkeeper. I don't think any of our current strikers look like they could do that. Like, they don't look like they've got the confidence or the belief to score goals, which is really, really, really worrying. And I'm not too sure how the manager changes that, because literally players put everything on a plate for the strikers last night and they still couldn't score.
And that's why I've sort of titled it, as Willie's went into it, Wilf will just jump straight into it. That's why I've titled it, what else can Danny Rohl do? Because we did create the chances. He did have the three strikers who cost near 20 million up front at certain points in the game. What else can Danny Rohl do with this team before January?
There's not really a lot you can do, because you can only urinate with the appendage that you're given to try and keep it clean.
Very true.
But I mean, he's trying. He's given the three strikers equal amount of game time, and it's just not working for them. I mean, they've scored something like 6 goals between them, and it's currently the first week in December. By the first week in December, I'm looking for my midfield to have a couple of players that have given me 5 or 6 goals each to augment what the strikers have done. And as Willie says, you know, any competent striker scoring them. I mean, Seabo's getting a hat-trick last night. Even at the age he is now, Seabo's getting a hat-trick out there last night. You know what I mean? Because the chances that we made are just, they were absolutely gilt-edged. I mean, I haven't watched it. I was lucky enough to be at the game. I haven't watched it back. And I was right above the tunnel, so the second half we were shooting towards the other end for me. But I mean, even from 100 odd yards away, you can see how easy the chances were. I mean, the one that Danilo missed that the keeper saved down low at the post, I've got no idea how that didn't go in. No idea how that didn't go in. Chermiti's header, I could have come out the stand and put that in. I mean, so much space. That's basic stuff. There's nothing Danny Rohl can do about that, because that's what he's got to play with. I mean, you know, there's guys asking questions. Is there anybody in the academy to step up? You couldn't put them into this environment. You just couldn't, because, I mean, you know what social media is like, particularly Rangers social media. I mean, as Willie touched on, there's folks saying, you know, oh, it's Danny Rohl's fault. Danny, get him out, get him looked at on it. There's not a lot more he can do.
No.
I mean, the performance was chalk and cheese from Sunday, right? That was, I would say, 100 times better a performance than it was on Sunday against Falkirk Ibrox, right? We were rotten on Sunday. We actually played quite well yesterday. We got caught at the back a couple of times because the defence is a bit ropey and we've got nothing up front, but we actually created chances. I mean, I'm not into all this XG and stuff, but I've heard that a couple of times today. We did the highest XG we've had in any game this season, right? And the Gomez goal wouldn't be included in that because that was a worldie. I believe XG means difficultly a chance. That wasn't even a chance. He just hit the thing when it came to him, so that wouldn't even count in it. So we made so many chances. We just need people that can score goals. And right now, we've got strikers that, quite frankly, can't score goals. And the problem is we've got another 4 weeks before we can bring a striker in. We've got 8 or 9 games in that time. And we have to learn how to score goals, because it's all very well. We thought, up till last night, we kind of kept the door shut for a few games. And I'm just hoping that being that as expansive as we were last night going forward doesn't mean we're going to ship goals, because that's what it looked like. It left a bit light at the back.
Well,
if you can't
we can't score, so
but that's what I'm saying.
Be that expansive.
If going forward and attacking teams and making all these chances means we're giving up chances at the back, we can't afford to play like that, because we can't score goals. So we can't be giving teams 1 or 2 goal starts, because we'll never peg it back.
Yeah, I understand that, well, right, but still at the same time, and I maintain, regardless of how much we were pushing forward or whatever, Fernandez has got to deal with Stetson or Stepson, or I don't know, Samson, I don't know how to say his name, the Dundee United player. Fernandez has got a good 30, 35, 40 yards to deal with him. He's in a couple of really good positions where he should deal with him. Can we lay that at the blame of being too expansive, or is it just really, really poor defending?
You know, when you're watching the game, obviously on the television, and you're trying to gauge what players are doing on the pitch, I don't understand why he's so tight to him, given how far away the player is for the goal. I mean, you're talking basically an entire half of a pitch. So I can't really understand why he's so close. See, when you get that close to any player, all he needs to do is turn you, and you're in trouble. Now, For me, he makes a mistake of getting too tight to him. And then he's not got the pace to get back in and cover. But you've got to give credit to the United striker. Like he does exceptionally well. Butland comes out, he's at a tight angle, and he picks out a lovely little dink over the goal to score. But you would have to say that the first part of the defending is really, really poor. You can't afford to do that. It's different. See if you're on a position where you feel comfortable that you can get back. But at no point does he look like he's actually going to get back and catch him. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's quite disturbing. And then the second one's not much better. You can't just keep showing somebody inside, and then they get a shot off. I just feel like, it's a bit like what you're saying is partially true, right? Like, we either set up to be more rigid and more structured, which probably means you're going to create less chances, but there's a better chance of keeping a clean sheet. Or, like last night, I thought we opened up and actually played some really good football at times. I thought some of us playing the final third was really, really good. And they've probably worked on some of the scenarios that we end up actually getting into those positions. But you need somebody to put the ball in the back of the net. And that's the biggest and the toughest thing to do in football, isn't it? Is to put the ball in the back of the net. And at the moment, we're really struggling to do that with the strikers. And I don't know if the manager just goes and picks one of them now and just says, look, you're my striker until the 1st of January. Instead of trying to kind of interchange them and give them all minutes, like Wolf's saying, maybe he's just got to say, look, I'm basically putting you in because I think you're the best of the three. You've got a chance to stay in the team for the next 4, 5, 6, 7 games. If you can give me 4 or 5 goals during that period, you'll have done your job. But on the other hand, we still need more goals from other parts of the team as well. We probably need more for Kasama. We probably need Raskin to get back in the goals again. Obviously, Barami's actually looked quite sharp in the last 2 games. He's obviously managed to score. Probably should have scored against Falkirk with the chances that he created himself. It would be great to have Mikey Moore back. But yeah, it is a worry that we don't seem to have a balance of being able to defend and attack. It seems to be either we'll go and kind of fully defend and try and keep clean sheets, or we'll go the other way, which is creating loads of chances, but you just need to hope that we can score enough of them while not conceding too many at the other end.
Well, I just want to come back to you quickly, just to touch on the academy slightly. It's not really the academy because it's Finley Curtis I want to talk about, right? Before we move on and we talk more about the game, Wolf, right? So Wally, what do you think the reason is to why Finley Curtis isn't getting a chance now? Is this a case of we're just so desperate for something to work and we're fed up of what we're watching that we're all jumping on the Finley Curtis bus without really knowing what he can bring to the team? Or do we look at how he started the season, the goals against St Mirren, the goal against Panathinaikos, helping the team, coming off the bench and playing well? Are we judging it on that? Because Ant-Man's now out for 2 months. I don't really know who else long term you can go beyond that right wing, especially for the next month. You can't play the same person there in all the games that's coming up. Is this the time when he gets the chance? If it is, why is it took so long? And if it's not, then is that game over for Finley?
I mean, it's a good question, to be fair, and it's really hard. So I've not spoke to Finley or his dad or his brother or anything like that recently. He's been really busy doing other things, but I would imagine he's probably slightly disappointed that maybe he's not managed to come on and you'll be given a bit more time in the pitch. I mean, the one thing Finley's always done since he was kind of 15, 16-year-old is score goals. Mm-hmm. He just seems to find himself in some really good football positions. He's got a good football brain. And it's probably been a bit of a surprise that we haven't seen more of him. And the same could be said for Lyle Cameron. Mm-hmm. We're talking about a guy that probably was one of the biggest reasons Dundee stayed in the league last year, when you look at his goals and assists. So, yeah, again, that probably is a bit of a surprise that we haven't seen more of him. And maybe we'll see them both against Kilmarnock at the weekend, because it feels like we have given other players an opportunity and they've not really delivered. So, yeah, I think you could definitely argue that in this game on Saturday away at Kilmarnock that we should see one of either Lyle Cameron or Finley Curtis starting the game, because both are players that can score goals. I mean, it's proven that they can score goals.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're desperately missing at the moment in this team. So, yeah, I think the manager's got to try and find a way of getting at least one, if not both of those players in the team. And at the moment, I can't really see a reason why at least one of them wouldn't be in it.
Yeah, Wolf, there's only so many times you can say we can't bring them in just now because of the situation that we're in. We can't bring them into this game. We can't bring them into that game. We've got to wait until you've got to eventually put these boys in.
You have. I mean, I heard somebody say today that their thoughts on it was he's possibly keeping them in reserve for when Diamande disappears to the African Cup of Nations next week. But I mean, that to me would be daft, because you need to give players a chance, because he seems to be giving everybody else a chance. As we said, the strikers are getting an equal amount of game time to see what they can do. Everybody else seems to be getting an equal amount of game time, apart from obviously the defenders because we're lack of bodies. But in the middle of the park, everybody apart from Curtis and Cameron are getting game time, and I just don't understand why they're not. Look, maybe bringing them on for 5 minutes at the end of the games, that does nobody any good. They've got to get either start games or get at least 20 minutes, half an hour at the end of games, because how does he know if they're going to do what he wants them to do and be an asset to the team if he's not going to play them? And they're the only two players that I can see that are first team squad regulars that are fit, that aren't getting a shot at it.
And also, just before I carry on this, by the way, I should say a massive thank you to Sharon Gallagher, to Frank Balfour. The Peacock Strikes Back, Big Chernobyl. I was going to make a joke, but I thought, don't make the joke. And Daniel Mervyn. So that's 5 new members have joined on the show tonight. Thank you very much, guys. I hope that you enjoy all the extra content, the match day coverage, the morning phone-ins, the nightly shows, all that sort of stuff. I hope you enjoy it all. And Chunky72 with a super sticker. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that now. Chunky, thank you very much for the support, my friend. Also a channel member. Well, just finishing up on the Finley Curtis chat. Is it a case of, do you think if he doesn't see any action for the football before January that he goes on loan?
Yeah, I think that must be on the priority list for Finley. Because you're not talking about Rangers at that point, you're talking about the lad himself. You're talking about a player that wants to play. You want to be playing at this stage of his career. You want to be a part of a first team where you're going to get minutes. And I would have no doubt that Finley would have a lot of clubs lining up to take him because of his ability to score goals. So yeah, I don't think that would be an issue in January should Finley, decide that he wants to go out on loan, because I think we've got to be honest here. On the other side of it, the manager's going to be looking for a budget in January, isn't he? He's going to be looking for a budget to bring players in, and you would imagine at least 2 or 3 of the players are going to be of the attacking variety, whether that's a winger, a 10 or a 9. So you would imagine that's going to bring even more players into Finley's positions that he can play in the team. So you would imagine that there's an opportunity for Finley to go out and loan, because unless the manager somehow gives him a run of games and he's doing really well, it does feel like it's getting to that stage for Finley that he is going to have to go and play somewhere, because if he's not going to get his minutes at Rangers, we don't want to stagnate his career like we've done with so many other young players. I mean, you could get into the whole debate with Leon King, with Bailey Rice, just to name a couple. There's several more that we could obviously talk about, but for Finley right now, given how he started the season and how important to us he was at the start of the season, he was the one that was scoring all the goals in pre-season. He was the one that scored the Panathinaikos goal. He's the one that scored against Alloa in the Cup. He scores away at St Mirren in a game that we're 1-0 down. So yeah, it does seem weird that we've probably not seen a little bit more of him since Danny's come in, because when you're a team that does struggle to score goals, you would think anybody that's capable of doing that would be closer to playing minutes than not.
What would your current Wolf report card be about Danny Rohl? Where would you mark him? Where would you grade him? What's the positives? What's the could work on, could do better?
It's too early really to judge him.
No, it's never too early, Wilf.
But I mean, I think he's done okay with the tools he's been handed. I mean, if you're talking about giving him a grading, I really don't know. I mean, up till last night, he seemed to sort it out with defence because we stopped leaking goals. Then we lost those two really poor goals last night. But again, for me, they're down to individual errors, which he can't really affect. All he can do is put the players on the park to play the game. Because the first goal, Fernandez, as we said at the start, Fernandez can't let the guy run past him. He's either got to stick his shoulder in him and nudge him onto the track, or if that doesn't work, just wipe him out before he gets near the box. Because at that stage of the game, you're only getting a yellow card. As long as he's not in the box, you're only getting a yellow card. Just take it and move on. And the second goal, I've watched it back once, and I sort of changed my mind a bit, but live at the game, it looked to me like the whole defence stopped because they thought the Dundee United were getting a free kick because Majowski tried to pull the guy back. And I mean, Majowski can't even do that right. So we can't expect him to score goals if we can't even pull a guy back properly. You know what I mean? So it looked to me like the whole defence stopped. The guy just walked right through it. But having watched it back, I don't think they did stop. They just weren't aware of the danger, I don't think. But it's individual mistakes that are costing us these things. I mean, Danny Rohl's got his playing slightly. Well, if you're looking at last night, he's got his playing better football. Although, if you look back to Sunday was awful. So, I mean, I would probably give him a B if I had to give him a mark. Because let's be honest, he's only lost one game since he came in. Okay, we've drawn a lot, but he's only lost one game since he came in. You know what I mean? So it's better, but it's still nowhere near good enough. However, it can only get near good enough when he brings in his own players. And the problem we've got is, how are we going to shift the players that have been brought in by the previous incumbents? Because they've set us back probably a couple of years easy. Because the players they've brought in for big money. And it's not, like Chermiti, it's not Chermiti's fault he gets signed for £8 million, right? But he'll be on an £8 million player's wages. Mm-hmm. So if we say, look, we'll take a lot on him. Somebody want to buy him for £2 million. And they go, I will take him. What wages is he on? No, we're not paying him that. And he'll go to a pay cut, so he doesn't need to go. I mean, that's the problem that we've got. And it's not just Chermiti, it's all the players we brought in. It's Ant-Man, it's Asgard. These guys will be on fairly serious money for the level of club that I would expect them to move to if they moved. We wouldn't expect them to move to the Premiership, for example, where they would get similar wages. I'm not even sure they would be top-end Championship. They certainly couldn't go anywhere in Scotland and get similar money. So that's a huge issue we've got going forward. So really, to mark Danny Rohl, you can only do it maybe a year down the line, if he's still here in a year down the line, which I hope he is.
But Wilf, I agree. I completely agree with everything you're saying. And Wally, the only reason I've asked that question, right, is because I've seen some amount of crap on socials from last night, talking about the manager, how he's not good enough, how he needs to go, how he's not playing the right players, he's not playing players in the right positions, he doesn't know what he's doing. I don't think it can be understated just how much of a basket case football club this man's come into. And how much of a mess Thelwell and Martin absolutely left us in, and he's got to try and pick that up and deal with it.
I mean, let's be totally honest, right? Some of the stuff you see in social media is people that either don't understand football or they don't understand just how poor some of the players we are.
I don't understand football, but I still get the Rohl's thing.
I know, but like you see some people, I mean, somebody said last night, we hardly created a chance last night, and you're sitting going, right, you obviously weren't watching the same game as me, because we created more chances last night than we probably have this season.
Yeah.
I seen somebody comment on an individual player who was really poor, and I thought he was probably one of our best players. Some of the takes on social media are crazy at best. Some of the opinions are ludicrous. Some of the stuff you see written about individual players and the manager, it's crazy. That's why, see, anybody of a sane mind, you shouldn't spend too much time on social media reading comments and stuff like that, because you really don't get anything out of it. The reality is, when you go and watch Rangers home and away and you travel to Europe like Wilf does and that I've done over the years, social media is never going to play a big part in your opinion on players and in your opinion on the manager. Look, the guys walked in the door he took over for Russell Martin, who looked like he didn't know what he was doing at times, because some of the team selections, some of the football we played was really, really poor, and even people that didn't know football could have probably said that. So he's walked in the door. He's basically watched on as Patrick Stewart's been moved on and Kevin Felwell's been moved on. We've obviously decided we're now not taking the head of academy on for Wolves. That's been mutually terminated. He's walked in and he's obviously looked at the squad. He's now got an idea of the players' qualities and what they can do. It would appear that that's been passed on to Kavanagh, and that's what's probably partly resulted in Patrick Stewart and Kevin Felwell losing their jobs. He's probably saying, look, this is a bigger job than what it first was. 100% what Wolf says is true. He stabilised the team. We're a better team than what we were. But to be fair, that probably wouldn't be that difficult, given how poor we were at times. We look as though we've got far more structure. We look as though we're a team that knows what they're doing a little bit more. You can see that he's trying to do things game by game, trying to implement little things. But at the end of the day, without kind of repeating the same stuff that probably most other podcasts have, if you can't put the ball in the back of the net, it's always going to be a problem. And that's been our problem for the entire season so far. And we can't do any more than create chances like we did last night. See, on another night, we could have scored 5 or 6 goals because they were clear gilt-edged opportunities. It's not like they were just wee crappy chances. They were proper good chances. So there's no way the manager can be blamed for that. And as Wolf says as well...
Willie, sorry, just on the point you're making, just out with that as well. The half chances, Celtic players like Barron, like I was just inside the box or just outside the box, it's perfectly rolled past him and he just blasts it over the bar. You're wanting that chance to fall to
anybody else. We said at the game that falls to anybody else, it's a goal.
See, but yeah, again, it falls back into that category where I still think some of the players are really low in confidence. And I think you can see that. And I think that just comes down to the fact that what we've done over the summer, you can tell that some players aren't particularly happy with how things are going. I mean, and see, in all honesty, it's probably a miracle that Raskin's still in the Belgian national team right now, because you would have to say that Nico's not had a great start to the season. You would have to say that Diamandi's not showed the form that we know that he can. You would have to say that without Suter and Cornelius, the two centre-backs don't look the same standard of defender. James Tavernier's still one of our best players game in, game out.
Well, I thought it was poor last night.
But see, the bigger scheme of things, he's still the guy that wants the ball all the time. He's still the guy that will drive forward with the ball. He's still the guy that will put the ball in the box more than anybody else. He'll take a chance. Whereas some other players actually look a bit scared at times. And I think that's where like sort of Barami's good, because see, Barami, he's one of those guys that he's very arrogant, he's very cocky. You can see when he plays the game that he knows he's got good quality when he's got the ball at his feet. And you probably need more guys like that, because his confidence probably doesn't really drop, Barami. He probably just constantly thinks that he's good, which in some ways it's what you should feel as a footballer, isn't it? Because you should feel as though you're the best player on the pitch and you can do things. The problem is at the moment is when he's putting that good ball into the middle of the 6-yard box, you're looking at it and going, oh shit, there's Chermiti. He's probably going to sky it over the crossbar or maybe even over the stand. So like, there's just no confidence in that front line. And it's just, it's hard to believe that we've got 3 strikers who probably have less confidence than most in the league. I mean, we could probably sign somebody like Simon Murray in January. I'm just picking his name out, right? I'm not saying we should sign him, but we could probably sign Simon Murray for Dundee in January and he would probably score 12 or 15 goals between then and the end of the season.
Yeah.
Because if you actually put the ball into a good area, we just need somebody to put the ball into the back of the net. And we would probably go and win 6 or 7 or 8 games in the spin. Because at the moment, I actually don't think some players know what more that they can do in terms of like the creative side of things. Because look at some of the chances we created in some of these games. We look at Chermiti in the Cup semi-final. All he needs to do is hit the thing on target and he probably scores. You know, you look at some of the chances that Miovski and obviously Danilo have had. You look at some of the chances that Asgard has got himself into, and he's missed those. So, see, other than maybe putting every player in training in front of an empty goal and just say, see, for the next 3 hours of training, just wanting you to strike that ball into the back of the net, and somehow that grows their confidence into when the ball drops in a meaningful game, they can put it in the back of the net. Because at the moment, you would have to say, I don't really expect any of our strikers to score in games. I don't know if Wilf feels the same way.
Oh, that was exactly the question I was going to put to Wilf. Does it matter who plays up front?
No, not with the 3 strikers we've got, because Willie's right, we don't expect any of them to score. I mean, as we've said, 6 goals between them all season. I mean, and it's December. That's ridiculous. That's not a strike. That's not a striker. I mean, that's crazy. You'd expect at least one of them to be nudging up towards double figures, if not already in double figures. At least one of them. I mean, we scored 18 goals in the league this season in 14 games. That's not Rangers. That's awful. And I mean, Willie's spot on. Some of the balls we play in are really good. It's not just from Tav. Some of the balls we play from wide are absolutely spot on the money. There's just nobody there to put them in. And the problem we've got, if it's Tav that's putting the ball in from wide and it doesn't get converted and it doesn't go out of play, is whoever we're playing against, they just bomb it up the park. And with the best will in the world, although Tav still does a ton for us, his legs have gone and he can't get back, which puts us straight back under pressure again. I mean, there was one, looking back to the game last night, there was one early on in the game when Dundee United broke up and it looked like Tav was running through treacle trying to catch a guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not his fault.
I thought he was so poor defensively last night, Tav.
But, I mean, that's the problem we've got, Martin. Your strikers, they're not making keepers work. We're not getting set plays off it. We're not getting corners. We're getting nothing because they're not. The shots are so weak. The keeper just bends down and picks it up, throw the rat on it, to use the old expression. They don't even go high, wide, and handsome because they don't hit them hard enough. It's so frustrating. So, and then they throw crosses in and it goes to the defender at the back post because they can't time their jumps. It's just, I mean, something, we could probably do worse than throw Fernandez up front because he's about 8'4". It's just stick him on the penalty spot and throw high balls at him.
Well, we've spent 20 million net this season, and we've got nobody to replace Tav, who's been past it for a couple of years. The guy who could replace him is too busy playing left back, and then when he's not playing left back, he's not in the team. The other boy who's playing left back, Magoma, is on loan. Our best defender, Cornelius, is on loan. I'm not telling anybody stuff that they don't already know. 20 million net, but Wilf, and we have got no depth. But
that's all down to Thelwell, Stewart, and Martin. It's all down to them. And I think it would appear from what he's been saying that Mr. Cameron has realised that. That's why they're no longer at the club. And because he's come out and admitted he's made mistakes, but he has to get it right. And you can't get it right in January. You can't get that right in one window. And you certainly can't get it right in the January window because January windows are notoriously difficult to get decent players because you're not getting a guy that's a standout for his club because they just won't sell him. Simple as that. You're getting guys in this coming up window that are on the periphery of their team but want to go to the World Cup or have fallen out with it, or favour of the team they're at. That's not the sort of player we need. Guys who can come in and start. We need to be going to clubs, even clubs with about clubs like Hearts and Aberdeen and St Mirren and saying, right, see that starting player in this position, we're having him. You know what I mean? Like Willie says, Simon Murray, and I'm not advocating Simon Murray because I don't think he's good enough. He's not what we need. But somebody like that and say, right, we're having him. Go to St Mirren and say, Gogic, look, you're no real Rangers class, but you'll do this for 6 months. You'll fill a gap for 6 months because we're missing experience at the back. I think there's a centre half in Fernandez, I really do, but he needs somebody beside him. See if Fernandez had a Davy Weir type beside him, I don't think he'd make the mistakes he makes. I mean, look when we brought in Davy Weir for 6 months and he stayed 5 years. He made very ordinary centre backs look very, very good. You know what I mean? And he did, but we don't have that. We've got two inexperienced. They're not young guys, but they're inexperienced centre halves together with an inexperienced left back. And okay, our most experienced player, right back, but Tav can't do it all. He can't be looking at the line, shouting at the defenders, getting the ball up the park. He can't be doing it all himself. And Magoma's he's only been 18 or 19 himself. He's not got the experience. So there's a serious lack of experience all across, not just at the back line, but all across the whole team. There's a lack of experience. And that's a problem when we brought in, you're saying 20 million net, but when we brought in one player over 25, I think. I mean, in Joe Rothwell, and he's not done it since he came in. And that's the only bit of experience we brought into the team.
Not just that, Willie, as Stuart Allison's saying here, having to teach a 10 million and a £6 million striker to hit the target. That's where we're at, Willie. We've got 20 million quid's worth of striking options and not one of them can hit the target. I mean, Majovski last night as well. Ball's chipped through, you're right in front of the keeper. Just get it on target and it's a goal. And he's not got the confidence to do that. Danilo, the ball ricochets to him in the box, and a normal striker who's up to speed and all that, that's just a reaction. Boom, that's a goal. And Chermiti, 6 yards out, simple header, just get it on target and it's a goal and it's past the post. That's 20 million quid's worth of talent, Willie.
Yeah, well, I think the most kind of worrying part of it would be Chermiti, because for Felwell and Martin to decide that he was the best option at the end of that window, I mean, it's crazy to think that Kavanagh actually agreed to sign that off, really. And I mean, there might be more to come out of this potentially on that deal, because when you hear wee murmurs behind the scenes, you wonder if there is going to be more that's going to come out, because clearly, I think Danny Rohl's looked at Chermiti and thought, that doesn't seem normal that any club would pay that level of money for him. And I think there's definitely something that's going to come out further down the road with that, or there's going to be implications towards Felwell, or, in terms of that transfer, because how can you really spend that money on a guy who had never scored for Everton? That's got to be a huge question mark around that. You've got to laugh, because it's honestly one of the craziest deals I've seen in football. See if you bring somebody in on loan and they don't do very well, you can send them back. But this is a guy that we've actually agreed to pay the second highest fee that Rangers have ever paid for a footballer. And you would have to say he looks very ordinary.
Do you know what he reminded me of? And it was running through my head because I heard the story the other day. Remember when was Graham Souness, was he at Blackburn? Was it Blackburn?
I think it was Southampton, wasn't it?
Was it Southampton? And he signed that boy on the word. Was it Aspria or something like that? He signed the boy on.
I think somebody was supposed to like George Weir's cousin or something like that, was it?
That's what it was. Yeah. And he realised within about 30 seconds when being on the park that he wasn't a footballer. That's the way I feel with Chermiti, Will.
But see, the thing that gets me about Chermiti, and he's definitely not an £8 million player, right? I mean, Everton, let's not forget, Felwell signed him for Everton for about 13 million. You know what I mean? So Felwell spent over £20 million on that guy at two clubs, which is absolutely wild. And as Willie says, there's got to be possible implications down the line. But I can't get my head around the fact he gets a game for the Portuguese under-21 side. What do they see that we don't? I mean, my knowledge of Portuguese under-21 football isn't what it should be. But
really, I thought your knowledge was top-notch of the Portugal under-21s, Will.
No, they're under 18s. They're not too bad, but their 21s are a wee bit sketchy. But it mystifies me that he gets a start with him, he gets a game with him. Because what do they see? Because I'm sorry, I can't see it.
No, I've got no idea. No idea. Luis Figo apparently loves him. Apparently, I've got no idea what Luis Figo is seeing. That's when we've got a really good question.
Make sure that he gets a director of football's role somewhere, then, don't we? And then say, by the way, he scored 2 goals in 2 games in the Scottish Cup against Forfar and Alloa, Annan Athletic or something like that. You can pay us for 10 million quid back, Lewis,
Mark Bernard made a good point there that Umar Sadiq couldn't kick his own ass for us. He went to Italy and he's a superstar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it maybe just be can't play in Scotland, but again, he's currently playing in Scotland.
How many goals has he scored for Portugal under 21s? Who's he scored against? Gibraltar?
Yeah, but at least he scored.
Yeah, couldn't score against Annan. Right, there's a couple of there's one super chat and one really good question comment that I want to bring up. But before I'll bring up the super chat first, it's Fayor Gaz. Thank you very much for the support, Gaz, channel member as well. We need, and this is Gazzy's opinion, Willie, we need 2 quality midfielders, a quality striker, a left back and a right back in January. Thoughts? I think, Willie, we need a good right back, a couple of good centre backs, a good left back, a couple of good midfielders, a good right winger, a semi-decent left winger, and a couple of strikers in January.
Right, see, that's just ludicrous, like, because we're not going to do that much business. I mean, I'll be totally honest, I'd be amazed if we signed more than 3 or 4 players in January.
Yeah.
I think that's the reality of... But, I mean, see, getting back to like the basic stuff, right? See if you can actually sign a striker who can actually score a goal. That'll make such a big difference to this team. Like, monumental difference. And I know some people
just being silly now, thinking that we can sign strikers who score goals.
I know, but like, see if you just look at the players in this league as Wolf spoke about and I spoke about. Look at like the lad up front for Motherwell. I forget what his name is. Is it Maswaike or something like that? He is a handful. He's quick. He's strong. He can play off the last defender. He can play in the channels. He can drop off. He's exactly the type of player that we need to go out and sign. I'm not necessarily saying it should be him, but that type of player. We need somebody that's more mobile. They've got a bit of pace. They can turn teams in behind because obviously you're going to do that more in Europe. But there's so much more to it. And when you look at the wids, we need just a winger who's direct. Somebody that's just going to get to the byline, get the ball into the box. And the other part is we probably need to go out and sign a centre-half. Because to me, see when Giga's away at the AFCON, Rangers should be trying to cut that loan shot.
Yeah.
Because there's absolutely no way that man can keep playing games. And I hate saying that because, you know, I'm not that kind of guy to be really critical of footballers in particular because I was never good enough to play. But I watch Giga and that guy gives me the fear whenever he's got the ball or whenever he's on the pitch at any stage.
Did he give you more fear than what Insala did?
Yes. And that to me is actually quite scary with Giga. We're talking about a guy that played in the Champions League. Talking about a guy that moved for £10 million to Wolves. It actually scares me to think that whoever scouted this guy thought that he was going to play at that level. Because see, at the moment, he genuinely looks petrified.
But well, he's also Sierra Leone's starting centre-back. You know what I mean? And I don't really know much about Sierra Leone football, but he's an international football player. He's going to AFCON. He's going to the African World Cup, if you like, the African European Championships. You know what I mean? To start for his country. So again, what do they say that we don't? What does he do for them that he doesn't do for us? Because he's like a rabbit in headlights.
Oh, definitely.
And that's part of what your nature is and how you feel about football. That's not, you know, I can't settle.
I have to just interrupt Wolf and say that Giga actually plays for Burkina Faso.
Sorry, Burkina Faso. Sorry.
So you really know nothing about Burkina Faso.
No, you're right.
I think the outstanding thing that people have to understand is that when players are playing with no confidence, it's quite clear to everybody when things aren't going well. And I think the problem you've got right now is there's too many players in this team that are really lacking confidence. And the manager's obviously trying to instill a kind of structure in terms of how we want to play. And look, we're definitely a better team now that we won under Russell Martin. That's not even up for debate.
Yeah.
He's obviously trying to still structure his backroom staff because I think it was confirmed the other day there that somebody else is coming in from Germany to help with the analytics with the first team coaching staff. So I think you've got to look at it and say that look, the manager's doing his bits, but it's never going to be a quick turnaround because at the end of the day, you're still stuck with the same players that really struggled under Russell Martin. They found a little bit of form, but still nowhere near enough. We've showed glimpses of good quality, but not enough. And we still don't really look like we've got a striker that's going to give us what we require, which is goals. So, to me, the pivotal positions that need to be filled is centre-half, winger, and maybe 1 or 2 strikers. Now, that's obviously going to be dependent on who we move on. I think there's a real good possibility that some of the guys we signed in the summer could be sold in this January window.
Or put
or they'll be loaned. Yeah, because
I think that's a real possibility as well.
I think when you look at something like Rothwell, he'll still have a lot of interest from Championship clubs, so I think that deal could go quite quickly. In terms of loans, in terms of guys like Max Harris and Giga, there might be like a fee that has to get paid to terminate the loan, but I still think that makes more sense to do that than keep them in the building because it's not working. Mm-hmm. You could argue that maybe in January, if there is enough interest in a Danilo or... I mean, it's hard to see Chermiti going anywhere. Miofsky, yet again, I don't think so. But we probably just need to find a striker that's going to give us some goals. And Wilf is right in what he said earlier, that we could do worse than look in our own kind of backdoor area in Scotland and just find somebody that's going to give us what we require. We've done it in the past with Billy Dodds. Mm-hmm. You know, we did it with Neil McCann when he was at Hearts. There is no issue with me going out to do that type of deal. Especially if guys are in the last...
at Kilmarnock, Chris Boyd at Kilmarnock. Yeah.
No, and this is the thing. What we have to understand is, right, the only way that we're going to get back to being good enough is by winning games in Scotland, because that's what people will always judge you on first and foremost. At the moment, we don't look like a team that's going to find consistency. So we really need to try and somehow, between now and the end of January, find the right players. But during that spell, you still get some really difficult away games. In the next 6-8 weeks, you know, you'll have Aberdeen away, Celtic away, Hearts away, Killie away. We've obviously got to go to Ferencváros, which is going to be an extremely difficult away game, having seen them once or twice is already. So, I mean, the manager just has to find ways of winning games, which I think we can already see isn't going to be easy with the current squad of players that he's got to select from. And for all the criticism that Cornelius and Suter have taken, they're by far and away the best two centre-halves we have at the football club.
Well,
when it dropped down,
you say that. You say that, Willie, right? Now, I do apologise, Nicola Stubborn. I'm going to get to your point. I promise I will. And by the way, guys, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Really appreciated. Thank you. Oh, no. Hold on. I don't know how that keeps happening. But anyway, this question for Multiple Man, Wilf, I want to put it to you. Talking about Fernandez, saying he was hopeless at first, but the first goal, he was... but for the first goal, I was pleasantly surprised, by Fernandez's passing through the lines. Now, not so much the point that Multiple Man's making, but have you been slightly more impressed game by game with Fernandez?
Yeah, I think he's improving. He's nowhere near the finished article. As I said a while ago, he needs somebody. I think with Cornelius beside him, he's probably a lot better centre half than we're actually seeing, because he's got that experience to guide him through the game. Possibly the same with Suter. I don't really think Suter's the type of guy to lead a colleague through the game. I think Cornelius probably would. So, and I mean, I noticed again a couple of times last night when Fernandez is striding out with the ball, he looks the part. Now, okay, doesn't mean you're good because you look the part, but he's a big lad marauding forward, and he can pass a decent ball, and obviously wins a lot of headers because he's absolutely massive. Yeah. So, I'd be inclined to keep him about, but you need somebody experienced beside him. I mean, going back to the question that was asked earlier about what we need in the window, we definitely need an experienced centre-back, particularly because Cornelius is out. It sounds like he could be out for well into the new year. So, yeah, so I mean, we could have seen the last of Derek Cornelius, depending on how bad it is. Because as you pointed out, he's only on loan. So we need at least one experienced centre-back in there that's not injury prone, because we need to keep him up. Probably beside Fernandez, as we've just been talking about. We need somebody that can score goals and creativity in midfield, because we're crying out for creativity. We've got loads and loads of water carriers, guys that will win you the ball, guys that will, do the corner bar. And I heard somebody last night liking the way he was playing, the way that Ryan Jack used to play, getting into those sort of positions. But loads of guys can do that. But when they've got the ball, they need to give the ball to the guy that will create the chances. We don't have the guys creating the chances, so we need somebody that can be the creator, if you like. and obviously the guy to put the ball in it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you want to come in on that or you want to take Nicolas Stubburn's point.
What one was that?
This one.
Right.
If Mikey Moore is fit, because I think it may have been you, Wally, yourself that was talking about they need to bring in a winger, right?
Yes.
If Mikey Moore is fit, who gets dropped now if he comes straight back in? By Rami, is he dropped again to let a lone player get game time? So that's actually two questions in one for me, Wally. It's, does Mikey Moore, from the couple of games that he showed a bit of something before he got injured, does he come straight back into the team? And what are you thinking about the kind of looks like upturn in Bayrami's form?
Mikey Moore definitely comes into the team.
Who does he replace, Wally?
Well, he could probably play Bayrami off the right. He could play Mikey Moore in the middle and still have Gassama at the far side, or they could go vice versa. Gassama on the right, Mikey Moore on the left. So there's a bit of interchangeable play there with the three. So like you could easily play the three of them. But then it probably just means it's just the one striker up front. If you're looking at last night's team, you probably just drop out Danilo for Mikey Moore. But I mean, it's obviously going to be dependent because the manager's changed shape quite a number of times already within his short spell here. So you probably can't overthink it too much. But I'd imagine if Mikey Moore's fit enough to play, then he comes straight back into the team. The minute that Suter's back fit, he's coming back into the team. Diamandi is obviously going to be away at the AFCON as well, so you're going to be that midfield player down, so you're probably going to see a lot more of
David Watson.
Yeah, look, mate, we spoke about this obviously on the phone the other day there when I obviously said give you a wee phone after work, and I wouldn't be surprised if we looked at one or two players that were out of contract in the summer and try to make a move for them in January, and Watson probably is one of those players. Whether he wants to come here is a debatable point. Just a bit like when Lennon Muller was been spoken about.
Well, don't.
No, this is just a thing.
I'm still in pain about Lennon, right?
But I don't see the point in feeling like that though, because I think, as I'd said to you, probably for the last 3 years,
I'm an emotional person, Billy.
I was always led to believe that he never had any interest in signing for Rangers and Celtic. Because reportedly his dad looked at it and said, I don't want you signing for them. I would rather you went abroad or you went to England. And I totally understand why. Because when you look at it, there's got to be a pathway for a player that's going to come in and play. And at the moment, I don't think there is that. And I think that's where Watson would need to have a lot of, sort of belief in his ability that he's going to come in and start ahead of a Diamandi or a Raskan or a Barron or anybody else, because clearly we probably are going to sign more midfield players next summer. But I'm just talking about between now and the end of this season, we need to add more to the team. And if it is looking at our own league and we're talking about certain individuals, Watson certainly is somebody that must be on the radar. But it's all going to come down to the recruitment now, because clearly some of the work that's been done prior to Felwell going will still be there. But if Rohl's looked at this, I mean, yet again, that was another rumour, whether it's true or not. If Felwell showed Rohl a list of players that they'd been scouting and looking at, and if the rumour's true that Rohl went, well, I don't think any of them are good enough. If that's even half true, that's quite scary in all honesty. If the manager's come in and just went, no chance. So, what type of players have we been scouting? If that's the case, is this...
Listen, we've got an extensive scouting knowledge of League One and the Championship in England.
See, but that's the thing I'm saying, though. It's like, see in the summer, when they sat down and they looked at how Russell Martin wanted to play, which was supposed to be a high-press, high-energy team, how many of the players that we signed look like they're those type of players? Because looking at what we've seen for the previous 4 or 5 months, not many of them, because Asgard certainly doesn't look like that player.
Asgard doesn't. Rothwell doesn't.
No, Rothwell doesn't. So you would have to say that for all the chat about how the style was going to be and all that, and look, I think most supporters know that most managers say a lot, but a lot of it isn't necessarily true. But see, when you look at the recruitment, in terms of what they were supposed to bring to the team, none of those players looked like they were ticking a lot of the boxes. And you wonder if, like, Danny Rose went in there and said, look, none of those players are going to fit in how I want to play. So why are we looking at these type of players? Because it's okay signing players under 23 because they've got a resale value. But if they're not actually impressing up here, then what's the point?
If they don't fit into the system you're trying to play, why are you buying them in the first place? This is the problem.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I do think that I still think you might see the end of Purdy. I still think Purdy might go at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Kevin Felwell's son went, because, like, you can gradually see the wee things behind the scenes starting to move on now. Some of the people that Felwell's obviously been looking to bring in or has already brought in, there seems to be chat that they're already getting ready to move out. So Wella Cavanagh went in there and actually had a proper look at it and went, you know what? Some of the decisions we've allowed him to make are just really poor. I mean, the fact that they've cut loose the academy guy almost days after Felwell, like, moved on, does that show that they felt that the recruitment side of him coming in wasn't really a recruitment, it was just somebody that he knew and he's been backing offered him a job? Because if that's the case, it's fairly damning.
It could be anything. And I mean, Neil's asking, what role will Felwell Jr. and Purdy play in our transfer window? Very concerning. By the sounds of it, not much, but none of us know the answer to that question.
Well, look, there's no doubt.
I have got another question.
You see, just quickly,
William.
It's like you've got, like, analytics people there, so they'll still be watching games constantly. But it might be now that Rohl has went to them and said, this is the type of player we are looking for. We are looking for a high intensity, somebody that's going to get up and down the pitch, somebody that's got pace, that's direct. So he's maybe went to them and said, this is the type of core players that I need in my team. And that's possibly took the recruitment in a totally different direction.
I'm going to come back to you with a question in a wee second, Willie, but the reason I haven't really touched on this, Wilf, is because I don't really want to, but it's sort of in the news. The guys touched on it at 5 o'clock in far more depth than what we're going to go into it here. Just a couple of sentences. Why is Michael Stewart a prick? Well,
Jesus Christ. Okay, I wasn't expecting that.
This is a live podcast on public YouTube. I'm going to plead the fifth because...
listen, let me ask a genuine, serious question. Are we overreacting to Michael Stewart's commentary, or is his commentary genuinely that biased?
Michael Stewart has achieved what he set out to achieve. What he set out to achieve is get his name up in lights, and everybody complaining about him. All the Rangers fans saying, "Look at him, he's a complete and utter fill in the blank," right? And it's worked because we're talking about him just now. And every other podcast you hear us talking about him, and every social media post saw talking about him, right? For me, he's a bitter, twisted, failed trialist. Right? 2 trials at Rangers, failed them both. That stings with him. He doesn't like it, right? And then he launched himself a political career, and he was trying to be he was trying to get a seat in I think it was the Scottish Parliament for the SNP, and I think he realised the way to ingratiate himself is to upset us because there's a perception that not a lot of Rangers fans are SNP supporters, right? Whether that's true or not, I don't want to get political about it. So from the moment he tried to embark in a political career, that's when he really turned against Rangers, and he just can't turn back around again. And he's just, I don't know if I really want to say the word parasite.
He's a dreadful commentator, and I'm not just saying that. He's a dreadful commentator.
Well, see, I don't hear him as a commentator because I'm lucky I go to the games, right? And I do hear him sometimes as a punter if I've got the misfortune to see him on sports scene, and you hear him, right? But he'd everybody see if he told me that it was 8:30 on a Thursday night and it was dark outside, I'd need to check, right? Because he just says things to be controversial. I mean, that his insistence last night. I've seen clips of what he said last night, and his insistence last night that it was a penalty for a handball with Fernandez when everybody else on the planet said no, it wasn't, and it wasn't a penalty when we got the penalty, and everybody else on the planet said yes, it was. He's just trying to be controversial, and he's one of these guys, right? And there's loads and loads of people like this on social media that he doubles down on his opinion. He won't say, "Look, I got it wrong," right? You've got to be the bigger man and say, "Look, I got that wrong." We're not sitting here saying Chermiti's a plum, right? See if Chermiti turns his career around and ends up ends up scoring 40 goals a season in 2 or 3 years' time, we'll all have to sit there and go, we got him wrong. It didn't work. We're wrong. Michael Stewart never admits he's wrong. He just doubles down. And he comes out with some belters.
Biomechanics, Wilf. Biomechanics.
He's superseded biomechanics last night with he kicked past him.
Yeah.
What even does that mean? Yeah. What even does that mean? He kicked past him. You know what I mean?
By the way, Wolf, I hope you're remembering, because I want to take back what I said about him, because I remember that video of him punching the punching bag. And it was. I don't know how he never made it at boxing. It was incredible. Because that's some pleading the fifth there, Wolf.
You know, my lasting thing about Michael Stewart. Right? I did the tour of Old Trafford a few years ago, right, when I was in Manchester, and they've got in one of the lounges they've got an honours board for Manchester United players that have been capped by their country, and it's all done by country, right? Michael Stewart got capped for Scotland as a Man United player. I could not believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Because from what I remember of him as a player, he wasn't even a good football player, and he's even worse as a pundit.
As Wilf pleads the fifth, which if he'd done that in an American court, I think whoever he would be in trouble, because that was not pleading the fifth.
I
love it. Listen, I only seen one clip, Wally, and it was literally Michael Stewart going, "No, that's not a penalty. No," and that was it, really. Hence why I'm asking, are we getting a wee bit too overexcited about the words that come out of that man's mouth? Because, and I know I said it jokingly, right? The guy's a bit, right? But people probably have the same opinion of me, Wally, and they'd probably be right.
Yeah, like Michael Stewart very much likes to say things that will cause controversy. That's what he does. That's why a lot of the times if I see that he's on any of the coverage, I tend to mute it, or I would rather find maybe like a foreign language correspondent that's covering the game so that I don't need to listen to Michael Stewart. I just think, look, he's one of those guys. He always likes to make something out of nothing, and yeah, he's just another one of those guys that by saying things that others don't, people continue to talk about him, and that's why he continues to get gigs on the BBC or TNT or whatever. And like, you look at some of the other ones that's done it. I mean, like Chris Sutton's basically made a career out of it since retiring as a footballer, just to be controversial. I mean, like, you can say the same about Chris Boyd. He says controversial things when you see him and Sutton arguing on live television.
I think it's really boring, the two of them.
Yeah, I think it is as well, mate, to be honest. And that's one of the reasons why people are switching off a lot of these things now and they're not paying for them, because it's become a bit tiresome and a bit boring, in all honesty.
No, because see for what you're getting on Sky, see for £1.99 a month, you can get match day coverage to all games with the Rabble, and that includes a build-up, a watch-along, half-time analysis, second half watch-along, and a full pretty much our reaction after. It's like a 4-hour show for every single game. You get 4 phone-ins a week in the morning at 10 a.m. You get 3 extra nighttime shows as well for that, on top of that. And you get loads and loads of other extra goodies as well for £1.99 a month. Now, I'm not going to continuously say it, Wally, and try and sell it on here. I wouldn't do that, right? That's not the kind of person that I am. But I mean, if you just check out that ticket at the bottom, it tells you to look in the description, and you can join up on YouTube or Patreon, whatever one you prefer.
See, for the love of God, will somebody get him to 100 likes as well? Because he moans about this to me all the time. So see anybody
I don't moan about likes anymore.
Make sure you get 100 likes. If he wants me to get it to 100, get it to 150 or 200. Because he moans about this to me all the time about stuff.
I do know.
Yeah, I just do my work some days and he's phoning me, moaning at me about it.
Well, there's only 97 likes on that, Willie, and I wanted 100 likes. Yeah, match days are now class. Yes, match days are class with the Rabble. They're very, very enjoyable, I have to say. Right, Willie, final question for you, buddy, before I let you get on with the rest of your Thursday night. Question for William. I keep hearing Bailey Rice has a poor attitude. Do you know if this is true or not?
I mean, I've never found that personally. And also I've spoke to Bailey. I've obviously speak to his dad as well. So I've personally never ever seen that. I've heard people say it, that he's got a bad attitude and all that. But on a personal level, no, I've never seen it. But that's just speaking from my personal opinion. Maybe in training he's different. maybe in other circumstances he's like that. But in terms of me, no, I wouldn't say that. But yeah, again, that's just my opinion. There's obviously a lot of other people out there that will know more about Bailey than me in terms of his training in the first team and stuff like that. But in terms of like watching him, speaking to his dad, no, I would have to say no.
No, I didn't get that impression of Bailey either, and his dad's a gentleman, as you know. So that would really surprise me if that was his attitude, to be brutally honest. Wally, thank you very much, gents. Back on the old public YouTube. It feels good. It does. Please do like, share, and subscribe, folks, if you're watching on the said public YouTube. As Wally says, I don't moan to you guys, but I do phone Wally up and go, Wally, don't give me enough likes. So do hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you want access to all the extra juicy bits as well for as little as £1.99 a month, I've already done it. You don't need to hear it again. Just click the links in the description. And come in. I love Council Tube. I love it. I say to the missus every morning, do you want a council coffee? Because she buys these teas, right? And it's like Earl Grey, and it's like paprika and rosemary fusion blend with strawberries and see all that crap. Something like that. Do you want a council coffee? And if she says no, then it's make it yourself. That's what I do. William, thank you very much. Appreciate it, gent.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you for the super chats tonight, for all the questions, for everybody who's tuned in live, for everybody listening back. Thank you for the support. It's greatly appreciated. For CEO Plus members in about 22 minutes, Alex or High Tower Hijacks your Wednesday, ... even though it's Thursday, will be on tonight at 9 p.m. for CEO Plus members as well. So, Wally and Wilf, thank you very much. Everybody watching, everybody listening back, thank you very much. And we shall speak very, very soon.